Hi, fifth grade. Welcome to my living room. I have my dog back there over here. I am in my living room today because I am recording some videos over the Thanksgiving holiday. And sorry if the sun is in my face. We'll switch over to the screen in just a second. But speaking of the Thanksgiving holiday, I hope y'all have had a great break. I hope you slept in, watched a ton of movies, ate a ton of food, maybe decorated for Christmas. That's what I've been doing, and I've had a great break. So let's go ahead and dive into what we're doing today. We are starting a new topic. We are dividing fractions and whole numbers, but not just regular fractions. We are dividing unit fractions. And that's one of my questions up here. What is a unit fraction? Well, a unit fraction is a fraction that has 1 for the numerator. So all of the fractions we'll be dealing with today have 1 in the numerator. And we will be either dividing a whole number by a unit fraction, or if you scroll down here, a unit fraction by a whole number. Well, we have to represent and solve. So let's look at representing first. Going to modeling, okay? How to divide 6 divided by 1/4 using models. Step 1, the whole number 6 tells you to draw 6 figures. So let's draw 6 figures. Let's do squares. 1, 2, and of course they should be prettier squares than mine, but when you're using a mouse and a drawing tool, sometimes they don't look super pretty. Okay, I've done 5. Let's do one more. Okay, and really our squares should all be the same. But once again, when we're using a drawing tool, they're not always equal, but let's just pretend they are. Okay, step 2, the fraction 1/4 tells you to divide each figure into 4 equal parts. Okay, so let's do that. Let's divide each figure into 4 equal parts. Ah, I was doing so well. Step 3, how many total pieces are there altogether? So now we look and see how many pieces we have now, because we have divided up our 6 wholes into 4 equal pieces. Let's count up all of the pieces we have. Well, if we have 4 here in each one, we can skip count by 4. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. How many pieces are there altogether? 24. And actually, that is our answer. Because remember, when you are dividing, you have a total that you're dividing up. Your 1/4 is what's in each group, and our answer is how many groups you have. Well, you know, we have 24 groups. So now we're going to actually change it to 1/4 divided by 6 to see how to, actually, no, I'm throwing it. Let's go ahead and solve it mathematically first with this one we just did. So let's do 6 divided by 1/4. And we're going to scroll down to see how to do it, and then we'll do it switching out this way. So first we're going to write the equation, okay? We'll write out the equation, 6 divided by 1/4. Use the keep, multiply, reciprocal strategy. So that means we keep the dividend the same. The dividend is what we're dividing up. So we're keeping 6 the same. So let's rewrite 6 because we're keeping him. Switch the division sign to multiplication sign because we're going to multiply, okay, by flip the whole, flip your divisor, sorry, flip your divisor from 1 over 4 to 4 over 1. Why? Because we multiplied by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of a, the reciprocal of a fraction is just it's flipped. So if we're starting with 1/4, we're going to multiply by 4 over 1. That's the reciprocal. Okay, there's Bobby in the background. So we're going to multiply by 4 over 1. And this is how we solve. Well, we know that to turn 6 into a fraction, we just put it over 1 as well. So when we multiply just like we were fractions, multiply the numerator and the denominator. 6 times 4 is 24. 1 times 1 is 1. Well, we don't leave it this way. This is an improper fraction, so we turn it into our whole number. 1 goes into 24 times, so our answer is 24, just like it did in our model. So let's see what happens if anything is different if we start with a unit fraction. Okay, so let's start with 1/4 divided by 6. Keep the dividend. Well, now our dividend is 1/4. It's whatever is the very first number in this kind of equation, in this number sentence. Whatever is before the division sign like this is your dividend. So we keep our dividend. So let's keep our 1/4. Switch the division sign to multiplication and multiply by the reciprocal. Well, the reciprocal of 6, remember, if we turn 6 into a fraction, it's 6 over 1. And the reciprocal is flipped, 1 over 6. And now multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 6 is 24. So what did you notice? I noticed that when we started with a fraction, we ended with a fraction. But if we started with a whole number, what was our quotient? Our quotient was a whole number, wasn't it? So that's something to remember. Make sure that whenever you are dividing fractions, if you're starting with a fraction, you're going to end with a fraction. And if you're starting with a whole number, your quotient is going to be a whole number. Okay, so let's do a few more mathematically. 4 divided by 1/4. Now, we're starting with a whole number. What should our quotient be? That's right, our quotient should also be a whole number. So we're going to keep the dividend, switch our division sign to multiplication, and multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal is flipped, our fraction flipped. So 4 over 1. And if we want to turn both of our whole numbers into fractions, we would do that. And now just multiply across. 4 times 4 is 16. 1 times 1 is 1. Do we keep it this way? No, that's an improper fraction. So 1 goes into 16 times. So did we end with a whole number? We did. Okay, let's look at just the opposite, 1/4 divided by 4. So here we're starting with a fraction. What should we end with? That's right, we should end with a fraction. So we keep the dividend. Now, I have to stop right here because this is where I would do my little chant with my class. And you don't know my little chant, so we're going to learn it. Okay, I'm actually adding to it this year because sometimes we would forget when to use this strategy. So I'm going to put in at the beginning, when we're dividing fractions, this is what we do. So when I do this, this is the division sign. Remember, dividing fractions. This is the fraction bar. It's also good because remember, a fraction bar is just like a division sign. I've told my kids that. So if we're going to start, here we go. I mean, I might as well just go. I'm used to being silly in front of my kids, so here we go. Dividing fractions. Dividing fractions. Keep the dividend, multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so I do this because we're flipping. We keep the dividend. The dividend is first. We're going to keep it and write it down below. We're just doing this, okay? Keep the dividend, multiply, do our little multiplication sign, by the reciprocal. So dividing fractions. Dividing fractions. Keep the dividend, multiply by the reciprocal, okay? So let's keep the dividend, 1/4. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. I'm going to flip 4. Well, 4 as a fraction is just 4/1, right? So let's flip it. 1/4. And multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 4 is 16. So we started with a fraction. What did we end with? A fraction. All right. I am going to stop the video right there and go ahead and for the next view, go ahead and play the next video.